Thor: Love and Thunder, the fourth Thor film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is on Disney Plus today. And there's going to be some light spoilers on here because we're going to talk about some changes that Disney made to the film based on customer feedback. We're also going to look at one of the big reveals in Thor: Love and Thunder and what it could have looked like from some conceptual art that we have released from one of the VFX creators. Now let's get right to it. One of the criticisms directed to Thor: Love and Thunder was the lackluster CGI. Thor 4 director Taika Waititi and Valkyrie star Tessa Thompson previously poked fun at these issues, indicating that they are aware of the criticisms. It remains to be seen if the discussions surrounding its CGI affected the overall performance of the movie, considering Thor: Love and Thunder suffered a historic box office drop while also receiving bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I personally believe the bad CGI associated with Thor: Love and Thunder probably had less to do with the big box office drop than just people just not being happy with the film overall. A lot of people didn't like the tone of it, way too many jokes, didn't really feel like a Thor movie. We kind of got that in Ragnarok, but it feels like it was kind of turned up to like 15 in Thor: Love and Thunder. But the CGI was a problem. A Twitter user at ComicXBook discovered Disney Plus updated the CGI of a key scene from Thor: Love and Thunder. The aforementioned sequence revolved around Axel, formerly known as Astrid, Heimdall's son, with him telling Thor and Valkyrie that Gore took him and the Asgardian children to the Shadow Realm. The user noted that it looks even worse, with numerous replies that appear to be agreeing with their take. It's reasonable to assume that Marvel Studios did such a move to address the criticisms from fans regarding its CGI. Axel's floating head in the scene seems to look sharper in the updated version rather than in the theatrical cut. It's nice to know that Disney and Marvel Studios and the MCU aren't just out there bashing fans all the time, that they're actually kind of listening to you. Is this a good change? I don't think it's a good change either way. I think it looks just as bad, if not a little bit worse than the original. I just think the concept behind what they did to begin with probably could have been executed better, and it probably would have turned out well, but it was bad the first time, and this is bad the second time. But it is progress for MCU fans. Disney heard you. They made a change. Unfortunately, it feels like they whiffed on this one, but they are hearing us. And in this case, they didn't just bash the fans. They actually made some change. So that's a positive outcome in my book. In fact, Marvel Studios is already taking the necessary steps to address the overall VFX problem, with a past report noting that work is set to be allocated fairly in a more logical way going forward. Perhaps CGI on upcoming MCU projects from the studio will not be bombarded by negative criticism. That has definitely been one of the themes that we've seen with Phase 4 of the MCU. There's been some bad CGI, and the fans have absolutely let Marvel Studios and Disney know, we want better effects. You set the bar really high, and you're kind of lowering it. Specifically, the She-Hulk trailers, that didn't really go well. I know some people claim that, there's compression in the YouTube system, and it was a compressed image. It actually looks great. It doesn't look great. Not in comparison to what Hulk has looked like in the MCU before. And they are taking some measure of action to fix their VFX problem, so they're at least acknowledging it. Speaking of bad CGI, Eternity turned out to be the sequel's big MacGuffin character, as Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcher sought to find it in order to eliminate the universe's gods in one fell swoop. Now, following the film's arrival on Disney+, Thor: Love and Thunder concept artist Jeremy Love shared just how extensive the process was behind finding the look for such a memorable Marvel character. The biggest similarity between this structure and the final cut comes with the vast pool of water surrounding the entire surface, which Thor and Gore would wade through before getting to the stone shrine. Another version of this location features the same structure, but with Eternity standing much, much taller over the movie's core hero and villain, well into the clouds. The final cut of the movie showed only the outline of Eternity with a view of outer space in the body. As for the size, Eternity was only about 10 to 15 foot tall, not towering too much over Christian Bale as he kneeled in front of it, although Eternity is also sitting cross-legged on the ground. Me personally, back in the day when we watched DVDs, maybe there's people in the audience that don't even remember that. I always liked the director's cut where you go behind the scenes, you see some of that concept art and some of the things like the way it could have been. So I always think it's kind of cool to pull the curtain back a little bit, get to see what some of the things that ended up on screen could have looked like. So thank you very much to Jeremy Love for sharing those. I actually quite enjoyed that one. Now, a lot of people are asking, where in continuity does Thor: Love and Thunder happen anymore? There's so much MCU stuff out there, and they keep like jumping around in time. Somehow, like Captain Marvel, I think is the second MCU movie, even though it was probably in the 20s. Captain America, the First Avenger, wasn't the first movie released, but it is the #1 movie in MCU chronological order. Now that the movie is on Disney Plus, we know exactly where it lands in canon. Thor: Love and Thunder is the 29th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is rapidly moving towards the conclusion of Phase 4. As the pop culture franchise continues to expand, it is easy to look track of when each movie and series takes place in the timeline. Luckily, Disney Plus is keeping track, and now that Thor 4 has arrived on the streaming service, its place in the MCU timeline has been confirmed. Thor 4 is placed last in the timeline order of the MCU, which puts it after both She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and Ms. Marvel. I personally would have thought Thor: Love and Thunder would have happened before then, but now we know. If you're up to date on the MCU, the last thing that happened chronologically is Thor: Love and Thunder, which hits Disney Plus today. Hopefully people get to check it out. There was a big box office drop-off. I think there was a lot of bad buzz, just bad word of mouth about that movie. And there's certainly been a lot of bad buzz, a lot of bad word of mouth concerning the MCU and CGI. I actually talked about this not too long ago, talking about the CGI and the feedback and the criticism about She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. My good friend Aaron Sparrow, Hollywood Insider. Definitely check this out. If you want some more information on criticism about Marvel CGI, if you're on a mobile device, there's also a link in the video description.